Hello all. So this is what I'm looking for at the moment. I see a bit like I've already analyzed the markets. Maybe I'll just share in a moment, but for now I'll just talk about what I'm seeing right now. So I have a bearish bias, and that's what I'm looking for in euro. And there you go. See, GBP has just given that high. See that one? And this was the news that came in at 2 o'clock. Now this is an important high to me. Of course, I'm not looking for it to go higher. I'm looking for it to be a stop run. And in that accordance, same goes for euro. Actually, I'll put GEP on this chart because I don't have plans to trade euro today. My attention is towards GBP. Right. So that is done. I'm watching DXY as well. So as you can see, DXY is currently falling. I would prefer that it take this low, but I think that's too far because GBP has already taken the high and also euro has also manipulated, right? See right here. So that is pretty much done. I'm not expecting that high. If I'm not expecting that high in euro, that this low is also unlikely in DXY. So, and apart from that, I think 5 minute has a gap right there. See, so 5 minute has a gap. We are below the midnight open. So if since we are no, not we're not below, right? We are almost on the midnight open, right? Okay, midnight open is here, so we're almost there. So that's also a good thing. Yeah, so I would expect DXY to move higher, like it has missed this high. It has to take this high as well. So that should be something we should be looking for. Okay, this high is already taken. I'm so sorry. It's already taken. So that high is what we are looking for, the equal highs right there. And as I mentioned yesterday in the London session, right, for DXY, that DXY should be coming into this void right there. And that's exactly what happened. So everything is moving in accordance with the plan. I'll share about NQ just a bit later because right now I'm watching GBP, see how it behaves and if it provides a setup or not. So if we take a look at euro right now, I am seeing this gap and this should be a shorting gap. It should not completely fill this. Why? Because this would be a balanced price range. See that run up, that run down. So this most likely is going to be a balanced price range. I want to see this gap remain open. That would be right now in a sense, this would be institutional order flow entry drill, right? So that's one thing. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it for the analysis part. I'm not sharing any higher time frame analysis for today. I'm in a bit of a hurry overall. So let me see if we get something with GBP. Now, another reason for expecting a short in GBP was the news actually. You see how the news went higher, took off these highs, and then broke lower, but did not take this low, and then went higher again to take that high. So once that is functioned, I am expecting a kind of a market structure shift, And once that happens, I think I'll be going short in GBP. So that is the approach. Mm. At the same time, I'm watching DXY. As for JPY, since we haven't discussed, actually I'm watching GBP and it's very close to the levels that I was expecting. Hence, I'm not discussing about JPY yet, but it has an overall bullish bias, obviously. So I'm still watching as to what GBP does. So yeah, overall approach says that it would be a big entry as in an entry with a decent stop loss, because this is where I see for GBP to not come back once it shifts structure. And apart from that, now see, as for euro, even though I was expecting it keep that gap open, it has not, right? So that is something unfavorable to me, even though the bodies are looking decent, but I think now we should be expecting that high. But that doesn't change the price. I'm not saying we are expecting that high, so we are going higher. I'm still expecting it to, break down lower. That is the approach. Now that this is happening, let's quickly get into USD JPY and discuss what's going on there. So see, the USD JPY has from these stops moved higher, strongly bullish, right? Another stop run moving higher. Now that right there is an order block. This whole array of candles. See, 15-minute order block right there. So I'm not expecting prices to reach a lot below this. I would expect this to remain open. That should act as a breakaway gap in 15 minutes. right? So that's what is the expectation at the moment. And apart from that, this should be an easy bullish day for JPY. Though I'm not expecting any kind of setup the way it has moved. It has already run stops, and see it's not even coming back to the this thing, to the discount pricing, right? So what does that tell me? That we are strongly bullish. It didn't even come back to equilibrium. I want to see how it behaves. Like, it has rejected once. Now I want to see how it behaves again once it takes once, and if it takes these lows like this one. That is something to watch first. And now look at CAD, completely out of sync with what JPY has done, right? So again, watching this, I would expect this to move higher, taking that out. So that's also there, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The XY is still moving lower. It's just consolidating actually, just above the midnight open. And Euro is still consolidating on the gap. Let's see what happens here. The way it has consolidated on this gap, I'm expecting that high now. It's very likely that that would be taken. But GBP is showing some sort of weakness, but still a lot of consolidation right there. Okay, so in one go, if Euro actually goes for that high, then this would also try to take this out, and we'll be hitting that gap then. That's too far in my opinion. It should not go that far, but it could definitely. I'm open to that manipulation because again, my bias remains bearish. I have no confusion with the bias there. So I'm going to place this right here. So why did I place it here? Because that is the part that is exposed, right? The exposed part of the fair value gap. So I'm just aiming for that very area. Again, I'd prefer it did not go that high, but it could, because it would be much more of a cleaner price run if it actually hits that gap. Then it would be easy breakdown from there. So again, what the market presents is what we are looking for. Will it present it right here, or will it present it above there? That's what we need to see. Now it's all about the wait for everything to align. I don't see any decent gap in this vicinity, and that's why I'm waiting for a new fresh gap to be presented. I don't like anything that's here like this gap or this gap or this gap. I mean, there's so many gaps, right? But no, nothing that connects with me at the moment. Out of GBP and Euro is mostly the trickier one. Why? It's like the most traded symbol in the world, right? Lots of manipulation is almost always evident in its price action. So yeah, I was saying ki Euro is the one that tends to be more manipulative compared to GBP. See, so it may look like it's going down, but I don't think it's going down. It wants to go there. Let's talk a bit about importance of journaling actually. So I used to go through my journal, especially when I was tilting or I was, in a losing streak or something like that. So when that would happen, I would go through my journal for some support. And the funny part was that whenever I went to the journal, I found only days where I was in a problem. So that's when I realized where the issue is. The issue is I would not journal on days that were good. So since I would not journal on days that were good, when I came back to it to get support when I'm in a bad mood or a bad day or a bad week for that matter, I would not get any support, right? I would be like, shit, I have always been in a problem. I've always been losing. That's what I saw. So that's one of the biggest things that, like, biggest hurdles, honestly, because it feels like, how does this work? I mean, why would journaling work? I mean, I am doing my shit, right? I understand what I'm doing, so why journal? Journal is not for trading per se. Journal is for you to provide hope and, a sense of direction. I will not say hope. Hope is a very wrong word here. No, not hope. But in a sense, your journal should provide you a sense of direction when you are lost. That's what the journal is for. So if you don't journal on a bad day, that is still okay. But if you don't journal on a good day, that is a problem. Because especially on good days, you feel like there's nothing to write, right? What do you have to mention here? No, you have to mention everything. What did you do? Why did you do it? How were you thinking? How were you executing your process? How were you executing your setup? How much did you wait? What did you wait for? And I'm not talking about price, I'm talking about the thought process. The journal is not about price action. The journal, I mean, you can mention it, sure, but in my opinion, journal is more about what process did you follow? What was your thought process again? How were you thinking when you were seeing the candles? How were you feeling when you took the trade? How confident were you? Why were you that confident? All of those things need to be there. And why? Like I already told you why, right? So in the future, once you tilt, which you will, like which is part of the game. I mean, it feels like, no, now I know the skill, now I can never tilt. But honestly, that is not true. The frequency of tilting can be reduced to some extent with experience, I believe, but you would still tilt, and you have to account for that in your process and in your systems and in your support, right? So that's why journaling on a good day is extremely important. Journaling on a bad day, I think, can even be skipped. Like, that's not what I would suggest, but still, that can be skipped, but definitely not on a good day. On a good day, you need to journal everything, like every single thing. That should be the biggest journal on a good day. Like, your good days should be much more in depth and in detail in journaling compared to your bad days. Because in trading, it's mostly a lonely business, okay? You would be alone. And now, when you're alone, there's nobody to support you. And it's your journal that would support you. That's the only way. So yeah, so I'm in a better connection area now. Like we have gotten speeds back, and now if you look at this, euro has already given us that high we were expecting, and dxy almost at the low, right there. It may want to take that, but since this low is taken, I'm not so like very interested in it, but if it takes it, that's even better. And my interest right now is shifting on completely GBP to see if it gives what we are looking for. And all this while I'm watching euro on the other screen. And clearly euro is just not ravaging higher, but yeah, it's trying to wick a lot, you know. And I know it can hit that gap. I'm open to it, and like right there it has hit the gap, and dxy has also taken out the low. So now that is done. Now that completes my narrative. Now what are we looking for? A setup, a clean setup. That is all that we are looking for now. See that right there? I don't expect it to go higher till there. That's not what I'm expecting. If we have that, then it's a bit of a tricky business then. I think then I have to shift my narrative altogether, because there's a big gap in between, and it should want to. Right, so euro is currently rejecting from that very gap. That's a daily gap, I think. Yeah, that's a uh, daily fair value gap, and dxy rejecting and moving higher. So looking at this, I mean, euro could have my interest as well, but let's see. I'll see if GBP presents a better structure, or is it euro that presents a better structure. Now, what is of essence here? The speed. I don't want to see slow candles falling down. I want to see speed rejecting the, bullish bias in any case, like if there is a bullish bias. That's what I want to see. And at this very moment, GBP is lacking that. Euro not really lacking it. It's showing some energy right now. And looking at the energy, I think I would stick with euro for this one. But there's still a lot more to confirm. Not a hell lot more, but a bit more to confirm. Now, I could go short right there at that order block. Right there. That's one of the entries that I'm looking at. Or, okay, okay, beautiful. So this is where we focus now, where on GBP. I want to see this breakdown. See, I'm watching both of them. I'll see which aligns the best with my interest and with the logic that I'm following. Right now, I still think Euro is a better sell. So let's see just how it behaves and how GBP acts in that whole time. Now see, if Euro shifts that structure right there, that would be even better. I'm open to it. And then I would not be looking at this gap. If now see, it has rejected right there, I don't want to see that. I'm watching this gap right here. Once that structure is shifted, I would be aiming for this gap as a sell opportunity. Not right now, obviously. Right now, it would be a bad sell clearly because it has not yet shifted the structure really. In 1 minute, yeah, it has shifted the structure. Now, one could take an aggressive entry right here, but I'm not looking for an aggressive entry. I want a sure shot call. Okay, so like I said, I'm facing some connection issues, and I know the live stream is getting disconnected from time to time, and that is okay. It's not such a big deal to me. Hmm. Still watching Euro and GBP both, and also DXY. Now see, I like what I see in euro still, but I'm still not looking at that as an entry. As much as it can be, it clearly is, but that's not what I'm looking for. I want, in a sense, you could say I want the perfect setup to show up. If the perfect setup, let's just say it just drops from here and keeps dropping. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm still looking for that clean setup to show up. So that's where my approach is right now. I would be interested once this low is taken. Just waiting on that. I hope you see how important it is to wait for the right entry to show up. Otherwise, you could get very easily caught in the chop, and it would not be favorable for the account or for your mindset, either one of them. And like I said, it may just do that very thing and drop off, and there's nothing I can do about it. But that still doesn't change anything for me. I'm still watching. I'm still watching if Euro or GBP, either one of them. GBP is looking much more smoother in my opinion, and I like it overall, but Euro looks to be in some kind of a rush as well. So let's see which one presents a cleaner setup, and if anyone presents a cleaner setup in that case also. Sometimes feel funny. I just said it might just drop off, and that's exactly what it did. And there's nothing I can, I'm not upset about it. I'm kind of happy actually that I could see it coming in a sense. So that's one thing. But anyway, still waiting on what this market to retrace higher. That's the, it would be an auto block in 3 minute, yeah, right there. So let's see if it can make it to that price. Now, this, in my opinion, is a decent stop. By decent, I mean it's a long stop. Like I'm placing it above that. But overall, no, see, actually, the order did get executed. Give me a moment. I'm working through some things. Now see, I don't like that it has rejected from here and came higher, but I'm still following my approach. Now, where do I have my convictions placed? My conviction is placed in the fact that London did not take out any low. We took out these highs. We hit the daily gap. We've shown speed. I know there's no clear gap there. I understand that and I'm seeing it. But at the same time, if you see in 1 minute, there's a very beautiful juicy gap right there. So I'm watching all of this and I'm of the approach that we should be seeing a decent sell-off now. And it should be a quick one. Quick one as in not in sense of the trade. Quick one as in it should try to go lower very fast. It should be a low resistance run. And that's what I'm looking for. Okay, I realize I did not place the entry in this paper trading account, and I think that's okay. It's not such a big deal, like because that's not my concern. I placed those paper trades only to show it on the live stream. But anyway, I can show my actual trades on the live stream as well. So no complaints there. And again, there is a disclaimer running, which was not running for so long, but it's running now, which says that the risk of loss in trading can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider your financial condition before you take any action. Now, where do I, if this is a successful idea, where do I see it going for? That gap right there. That's my first draw. Of course, that's not it. I'm looking for that low as well, but that's my first draw at the moment. That's what I'm looking at. If I see the 5-minute candle, I would expect this candle that's forming right now in the next 4 minutes 35 seconds to be a strongly bearish candle. Preferably maybe not take out the low, but stay somewhere in this region. That's one thing. It could take that low out, but I would prefer it doesn't, like somewhere, like it closes around 16045 or something, that should be ideal. But again, like I said, it would be a slow resistance liquidity run, so it could just run off in speed. So the gap is what I'm looking for. Let's see if we actually get it or not. So like that, this has broken the low, and that's pretty okay. I have no concerns with that again. What I expect the market to do and what it does are two completely different things. And now see the funny part. There is news incoming for Euro at 3:30, like 8 minutes from now. So my approach says we should be getting this gap, like I know this is a 10-minute gap, but like this 5-minute gap right there, we should be getting that as well. I'm going to actually highlight that just for the sake of reference for myself also. So we should be able to tap that easily. On the other hand, I'm watching what GBP does. GBP is still in kind of a slow mode. It is falling, sure, but it's a bit slower in that regard. Now see, GBP is important to me right now because I will decide my Euro trade based on GBP. Why do I say that? Because you see GBP had the first news, right? At 2 o'clock itself, there was news which ran higher, right? And then we went lower and again went higher and took out those news highs, right? And then we broke down. Now this is a very very simple. News trading is very simple after the news, of course. It's mostly very simple. So once it has taken that out, shifted structure, and like taken some gap in the 1 minute or something. So now what we would want to do, it would want to go straight for that low. So that's what I'm looking at. So if GBP gives that low before Euro gives my target, I think I'd collapse most of my position. I'll be looking to end at least 90% of my position if that happens, which doesn't look to be happening at the moment. Like honestly, look at Euro. It's like it's like something, right? And just give me one moment. So yeah, as for the target, we have this low right here, but I would be watching how the market behaves at this low. And my preference still is very clear. I am looking for this gap in most likelihood. Like this gap is the first one, the 10-minute. This is a 10-minute gap right there, the lighter green one. So that's the first draw that I'm looking at. Then eventually this darker gap, and then eventually that low. So that's my current approach. Will the market give me that or not? We'll only know in like 5 minutes, I guess. It could very well, the news could very well run against me. That can happen, that can always happen. There is no 100% probability in this game. Yeah, I still think it should be an easy drop to that low. That's my first draw still. But yeah, let's see how it behaves there. Because GBP is not showing much of an interest in going down at the moment. So that's one thing. But again, it's not GBP that has the news, right? It had the news, but the upcoming news is not in GBP, it's in Euro. So that could bring in some more volatility in the market for Euro and not for GBP. Now see, in general, I would not want to see this high being taken. That's not what I'm counting for. I'm not saying that that's my stop. That's not, my stop is placed well above here and it would remain there until I see this low broken. But watching the candles, I would expect this high to remain intact. Let's see what the volatility always volatility does. Or also it could even be a dud, right? That happens a lot. Like the news being nothing but just just nothing, just a very small candle or a normal candle like that. So that too can happen. Even though I'm not expecting that, I think we should see speed because see, if you look at the daily chart of Euro, we got two consolidating candles. We saw that high broken. Okay, that candle's high is broken right there. We saw that high broken. My expectation is when I saw the daily chart, the first thing that I saw was it should make straight for that low and that low for this very day, right? So that's what I was expecting on the daily. But we are still in the London session. Okay, we are not in New York. So it's not necessary that London takes that low, right? It may push it into New York, and maybe I would trade till then, maybe I would hold that trade till then, or maybe I would not, depending on what the market presents. but that's what I'm seeing, and that's how my narrative is based on, like on the daily chart itself. These thoughts run a lot on Fridays specifically. I think it happens to the most of us that it's a Friday, right? It's supposed to be good. The week has, especially if the week has been profitable overall, that creates Friday in a bit of a bad mental state, because now you're like, "Ki, I need to protect what I have gotten," which is true. Like, you have to protect what you've gotten, but that doesn't mean that should stop you from doing something. If you stop risking, you stop winning. As simple as that. If you stop risking, you stop living, in fact, right? So, how I tackle that, I just try to focus, like, not try, I keep my focus on the market, like what the market is doing, and whether it's a Friday, whether it's a Monday, whether it's a Tuesday, I don't care. That's how I present it to myself, and of course, I do care at times, and that gets problematic. But that is the approach. Like, it's okay. If something happens, I still know I'll still be getting up on Monday and still trading it, right? And that's a stop out. That is incredible. And that was phenomenal. I don't know how much I have lost in slippages. That is, so I lost double the risk in slippages. That's interesting. And like I said, it could have happened that the news would run exactly against me. That's the risk I was facing when I saw. So, yeah, now looking at that, now that in a sense spoils my Friday, right? That's a Friday. I had a very decent week running, and I took a bigger loss. Like, see, even with risk management, I took a bigger loss. I took double the loss of my risk appetite. And my brain says that we have spoiled our Friday. We have spoiled the week. It was a good, decent uh, run for the week, and now that is slightly questioned. But now the thing to understand here is, will I not come back on Monday? Or in fact, like right now, I still have a session remaining, right? The AM session, New York. So will I not come on Monday and, uh, like attend the session, or will I not be taking any trades? Will I not be executing upon my ideas? Hell, I would be. Like, there is no doubt about that. And there's something interesting that I'm looking for actually at this moment. Uh-huh. Right there. See, that high has been taken. I am watching that. That would be right there. I don't expect it to move above the fair value gap consequent encroachment, but it could. See, when that happens, then you analyze everything, you've done everything, but something went against. It's a tough space to be in, I know. In fact, it's tough for me right now also. I'm not saying I'm absolutely okay with it, because I lost, right? And I didn't even lose a little risk. I lost double the risk, which I did not even risk. And that is what I realized in the math, actually. This is what gave my mind some logic and some understanding when I slightly focused on the math, okay, and on the game of probabilities. So my process, my risk management, everything is accounting for that, right? Even if I take, let's say, another loss in NQ, I'm not anticipating it, of course, but let's just say I take another loss in NQ today, like in the PM session, AM session. So if that happens, and let's say it's again a slightly bigger loss, it's not the same risk that I usually use, right? Like I use 0.75% risk, and let's say I enter that trade and it goes against me in speed and I lose, let's say, another 1.5%, right? Double the risk. The funny part is the math says I would still be profitable on the week. Now see, that is where I'm trying to give my mind data that the math tells me we are following a process. And the process is showing its result. We are not looking for, like 20% a week, or, something that says we are 99% accurate. Not in that regard. We are simply playing the game of probabilities. My accuracy right now lies somewhere around the 50% region. Like it's not very high, right? It's like 50, but I'm still profitable. And that is what needs to be understood in when moves like this. When it was so clear, like it was pretty much clean overall, but the news just, in fact, if it would have taken out that low and then did that, I think I would have actually closed half of the position. But see, I did not even get that. I was just, in this scenario, I would say I was just outright wrong on the narrative. But if you look at GBP right now see that. That is decent. It has still been able to sustain itself. And we are still looking for that low. Now, will I take a setup if it shows up? Looking at what I've lost for the session and the way it has been done, I would expect my mind to say no, which it actually is saying that no, we are not opening another trade in this session, right? Now that's what happens when I'm focused on more on the trade and less on the market. Now see, this is what used to happen a lot. I would take a trade, like see, let's like the same very scenario, right? I took a trade in euro, I failed, and it went right like absolutely against me. And now I'm like, am I taking this trade because if there's a setup? There's not a setup yet, obviously, but if there's a setup, so am I taking this trade because I lost in euro? If that is the reason for that idea to be executed, then I would guarantee myself that that trade would fail, because that's exactly what happens if you're getting into a revenge cycle, into I want to get back what was taken from me. You lose the plot. I lose the plot. So that's where you don't focus on what has been lost. You focus on what the market is again presenting. I was almost 6% up on the week, almost. And now I am back to 4. Why I'm sharing that? Because that's how right now my mind is functioning. It's looking for all those problems, all those losses. It's like, this is not working. Something is wrong. This, that, something, something, something. So that's how my mind is functioning right now. And that's where I'm telling it the right way. Focus on what the market is presenting you. It's okay. Taking a loss and taking double the loss is absolutely okay because that is the game we are playing. Like, I cannot change the game. This is the game that I chose for myself to do this freely, to earn my living on my own with nobody to tell me when to do this, when to do what, like somebody timing me. I never liked that. So that approach didn't go well with me. And this is the risk of doing that business right here that I just showed. In fact, two things happened in this regard. Like, I took NQ yesterday, okay, in the PM session. There was nothing in the AM. The whole day there was no trade, okay. For the London also I did not trade anything. For AM there was like nothing that I took, nothing that I liked. In the PM I took an entry right here. Okay, that should be visible. Okay, that's not signed in. Right, so I took an entry right here. See, right at that stop run, expecting that gap to remain open, which it pretty much was halfway open. So I have no issue. I had no issues with it, and this was during the 1550 macro. Okay, so as this market moved, I was expecting that high to be taken, but at this very time, ES was not willing to go any higher. Where are you? Yeah, right here. So ES was not willing to go any higher. It was just consolidating in this area. So that's where after 16, 17 approximately, I chose to collapse the position right there. And then eventually it went higher on to give the target, right? Again, at that time also, there was a mental fuck up that, okay, it was on point. I should have waited and something, something, something. And that's where I had to remind myself again. Again, what did I remind myself? That we are following a process. My process says that we should not be continuing very far afar from the, like 1615. 1615 is where the market pretty much closes for the RTH, if I'm not wrong. Right, for the RTH, that's the closing time. Yeah, see, right on that very candle, that's where it has to. That's not the execution actually. It's showing it wrong because I've shifted it to RTH, but the execution for this one was done 2 candles later, somewhere around 16, 17 right there. See, so that was there, and 1615 is like the last of the edge. That's what I look for. I don't try to push it further than that. So I followed my process. I watched ES, and ES was not willing to move higher, and that's why I closed that position. And eventually it gave my target, and eventually it gave all my targets, like in the Asian session right there. So that happened, and then this happened. Now my mind is collecting all the data and speaking like, we cannot do this. This is not working. My average wins in terms of percentage mostly is around 3%, sometimes 2.5, like 3%, 2.5 a week. That's how most of my weeks function. So even in that regard, this has been so far, leaving NQ session still, it has been one of the best weeks for 4%, 4.5%, I believe. And that is me just convincing the mind that what we are doing is right, when I should not be convincing at all. I should simply be focusing on the process. I know what I'm doing. I know how I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing it. So I just stick with it. That's the whole approach. Now see what DXY has done. DXY has gone again straight into that void that we marked after this news, and it has not taken that low, right? You see that one right there, right? But what about euro? Clearly, right, that high is taken. So what is that? That is a divergence. And now the question arises. Now see, this is the funny. Like I could go to GBP right now and take an entry if I really want to, which it is not presenting at the moment. I know that. I'm just simply saying at this moment I could go to GBP, and if it presents me a setup, I could take a trade. But the process says that euro is still much on the cleaner side. Why? Because DXY is behaving in that manner, right? So I am looking for what the market would give me in the next, I guess, 15 minutes, not more than that. I will not push it for 15 or something, because that would be a bit of a far shot. I'm not looking at that. The closest to 330 is 4, right? So that's what I'm looking at. If by 4 I get something that is worth acting upon, I would still act upon it. That's the advantage of picking your shots. If you lose one, you don't worry about it. You know exactly what you're looking for, and then you wait for that shot to happen again, right? It appears again, which it will. If not in this session, if not today, it will again happen the next week. Like it will keep coming. I'm watching both Euro and GBP. See, GBP right now is, if that happens, like this candle goes straight for that low and that gap gets open, that's where I would be looking to take my next shot. But this time at GBP, I know, because I'm watching what the market is presenting me, and right now Euro is, I think what it would do is it would just start, like it would just keep breaking down. That is what I think should happen. I'm looking at this gap right there, but I'm not taking it as an entry yet. Yeah, so that's the gap I'm looking at. My narrative still remains intact. I'm looking for lower prices, right? That low right there. And as for GBP, it has done what we were looking for. And now let's see if it can come back and hit the gap that we want it to hit, right? This one right there. Okay. Trying to see what would be the best shot? Would it be Euro or GBP? Hmm. At the given moment, if I look at it like um, slightly two-sided here, not in the sense of direction, two-sided as in whether I should be putting that trade in GBP or Euro. I like what it has done. I know that high would remain intact if we are going down. And I like this whole wiki region right there. I appreciate that. That shows that the market has already covered everything that it needed to cover. It's balanced that whole region and then it's breaking down. So that is decent. And we are below the low, that daily low I showed, right? So daily high, sorry. We are below that daily high that I showed. And well, this is where it's a bit tough because I'm not able to take the call whether I should be shorting Euro or GBP. Mm, I think I have taken my call and I would still be going on with Euro right here with the SL remaining on the high. Let's see if it gives us the entry we are looking for or not. Now see, the stop could also be above this high, like this old high, which in my opinion should ideally not be violated. But looking at the volatility and everything, I would prefer my stop to be much higher. And that's it. So we are in the idea now. Now let's see what actually happens with this, if we are able to move forward or not. So the bias still remains where, obviously I've been clear on that. I'm looking for that, no, not that low, sorry. That is not the low I was looking for. I'm looking for, yeah, that low and this gap, that still remains my bias. I'm going to put this on full screen and let it run. I'm not going to be shifting screens anymore. We would be talking and seeing if this trade actually pans out. Now, why I will not be shifting this screen is because I want to see this on record. So yeah, that's one thing. So let's see if we actually move where we expect it to move. I'm going to remove the disclaimer. This is not trading advice. Okay, I'm removing the disclaimer because I want the recording to be clean. So there you go. Not trading advice. Okay, folks, please don't see. Like I said, I know what I'm doing. So even though the news went against me, took me out on double the risk that I took, still I have, in a sense, the understanding to go short again, and I still know that this could also be wrong, right? And I am compensating on that, as in my process carries that with me. Okay, it's okay if I take that loss, I can take it, I have no issues, but I don't know about anybody else watching if they can take that loss or not, especially after this. So yeah, that's why I'm suggesting do not think of this as a trade idea, because it is not. It's just something that I'm doing and you don't know what I'm doing, right? So don't take it as a trade idea or execute or put real money or maybe even demo money behind it. Like, just don't do that. Mm. Okay, so I'm watching GBP still on the other chart, and GBP is doing decently fine. Shit, my mic was on mute. I'm so sorry. And I have no idea since when it was on mute. Great. Well, so this is not trading advice. I don't know if that was heard or not. So that's not trading advice. I'm just simply sharing what I'm doing. And I'll not be shifting screens because I'm recording this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would expect it to remain below that gap. I mean, in the lower half of it and not try to go higher than that. I think this week it's the first session where I've taken 2 trades in London. So I don't usually do that, but yeah, let's see. It's a first for this week. Now, obviously, that's not what I was expecting. And GBP is crossing some lows. I mean, that's a weird analogy altogether. GBP is moving lower strongly and sharply, but Euro, on the other hand, is not doing the same. So it's already 4:15 and I think that should be it for today's session. I would be recording this trade. Let's see how it goes. And apart from that, I would be looking for the AM session. I will discuss this particular trade idea and what happened and everything in that very session. And just for the sake of it, let's just wait for a while. Let's see if we're actually getting the speed we want and if this trade can be over with in a sense, because I'm watching DXY. DXY is showing decent speed on the upside right now. So that is what is expected at the moment. I'll just give a few more moments to it, maybe a minute or so more, to see if it is actually going to go lower or not right now. And then I'll quit the live stream. So waiting on that, let's see how it behaves around that very gap. Take that out. I don't think we need that. Yeah, I think that is it. That is it for today. I'll discuss the same in the AM session New York. That would be 9:15. Like 9:30 is the AM session. I'll be there by 9:15. So see you in the AM session live. Take care.